ask you for the answers for the warm up, and I do expect answers because it is things that I've taught you. Um, First, I need to touch on this. Tomorrow is our first assembly, and because I'm a cheer coach, I will be there. So usually I have coverage for first and second hour only. Usually those are other teachers at the school because they're not going to hire a sub for just 2 hours. Like it's going to be here and have no problem coming by because if they are here, that means that they don't have class that hour. They have no problem coming again if they'll say to tell me like who missed late. I've done that myself when I've subbed other classes. So especially when it's another teacher, like that'd be really silly to like misbehave and not do your work. Because they can absolutely come and identify you themselves. No matter what though, no matter if it's an actual sub or just another teacher that works here, I always leave pictures of you guys. I print out the roster and all your pictures and your names. I give them the seating chart. They can very easily tell me who is misbehaving, what they were doing, and who I should assign attention to. And I have no problem doing that at all. So make sure like whenever I'm not here, it's not your free day to have fun with your friend. If you're treating it that way, know that you're just gonna end up with more work. Never do I come back and reteach the lesson from when I'm gone. There's too many lessons throughout the year for me to just give you like a worksheet to work on or like review. Like that's usually never the case. Usually you have to watch a video, take notes, take a picture of those notes and upload them to Schoology, and then also do your practice in that hour. So keep in mind, whether they say what you're supposed to do or not, because sometimes they do lose the plan. I mean, it'd be really weird for them to lose it already by second hour, but sometimes they have issues with getting into the room, finding the plan, like who knows. You guys, the procedure for figuring out what you need to do that day is very similar to what you need to do for when you're absent. All right, you go to Schoology, you find the week and day for whatever it is. So say I was absent today, you would find August 14th. You'll see that we are doing a lesson because there's a note sheet there. I mean, I don't really want you learning from the note sheet, but I do upload it there just because. What I really want you to do is open up the slides and go through them. Usually on sub days, I will have the step-by-steps of what you need to do, and then the rest of the slides will look the same as normal. It'll have like the learning targets, the video lesson, which would be what I would want you to learn from rather than just reading the note sheet and copying that blindly. I'd rather you watch the lesson and actually know what's going on. Then after that, it'll have directions for your practice. Are you paying attention? Okay. Doesn't really look like it when you're not looking at me or you're not looking at the screen. It'll have directions for your practice. Up until now, it's been stuff that is auto-graded in Schoology, but like you can see for today, the practice is embedded in your note sheet and will be checked at the end of unit binder check. Usually when I am gone, it'll say you need to upload your note sheet to this link in Schoology and it'll have a picture of it. And it's like really easy to do and follow. So it'll always tell you what the practice is. It'll remind you of any upcoming quizzes. So tomorrow you'll probably have to do lesson 9 on your own and be quizzed on it on Monday. So if you really choose not to do your work, you'll just not know how to do that lesson for your quiz. But it's all in Schoology, and usually there will be somewhere that you upload your notes, like a picture of it. If you don't know how to take a picture with your Chromebook, then there's videos usually linked in the instructions on the slide, but also in the welcome folder, like you can't miss it. It's right here. How to submit paper assignments online. So click on the welcome folder, click on the one that says how to submit paper assignments into Schoology, and it tells you. and there's a step-by-step video too. So I do mark those missing if I see that you didn't upload it in the hour that you had this class. Like I do go back and I put the missings in right away. You should be uploading, if it's a lesson, your note sheet so that I know you did the stuff during class. And then, of course, the practice is usually auto-graded. Tomorrow's will be auto-graded, so there's that. Occasionally, there's some mishaps, like the internet is out or Schoology's not working your hour. You're still responsible for the lesson, so I don't come back and teach it to you. You need to figure it out. Do it over the weekend. Kids can be very resourceful. They've done their homework on their phones before. I mean, I know not all of you have unlimited data or anything, but like people can be very resourceful when they actually want to do something. You don't want to fall behind. And I'm telling you, like, I'm not gonna cover things because you were messing around in here, you were just being lazy. Like, you need to be resourceful and figure it out. All right. So that's what the procedure is when I'm gone. Whether they read it to you, I always leave it for them, but sometimes they lose it. Whether they read it to you or not, you know it's in Schoology. I need to follow the steps that are in Schoology. Okay. So any questions on that? The other thing is, if there's ever a fire drill, I mean, usually I'll tell you like right before you walk out the door where it is. But say there's a sub here and they may not know themselves, it's in the location of where the door is. Like look on the cabinet, look on the little wall right here by the evacuation map. It's even on my clipboard that says Medina. Like they should be able to figure it out. And if that fire drill location ever changes, like last year it changed for me like 3 times, it'll say so on the paper. Like I'll update that paper that's on the cabinet, on the wall, and everywhere else. So most other teachers do that too. So you just need to check so that we know where to find you. There's only one 50-yard line, so that's easy. And the home side is closest to us, so that makes sense that we'd go on the home side. Any questions on that? Okay. So there's that. Moving on. Today we are calculating measures of center and variability using a graphing calculator. So all the same things that I taught you how to find on Tuesday by hand, we're going to find now with the graphing calculator. Standard deviation, I did not teach you how to find on Tuesday because in the past, I have taught it to my Algebra 1-2 students, and it would take a whole hour to do like one problem. Not that it's necessarily hard, but there's a lot of room for mistakes, and it is a long process. So if you thought taking, figuring out what the MAD was a long process, figuring out the standard deviation is just as long, if not longer. So that's why we're not even bothering to teach it to you by hand. You are going to just know how to do that calculation. But standard deviation and mean absolute deviation are really similar. So kind of think of them hand in hand. Except you did learn how to find the map before. And then you'll also see how like adding, removing, or changing a data point affects all of these calculations. I'm re-recording right now. The math though is the same from last year, so all that's really different for each video is these announcements I'm telling you. Remember to set expectations. The practice I told you is embedded in your note sheet. It will be checked during the binder check. I don't need you to turn it in. That's why there's no assignment link in Schoology for it. I will check it at the end of the unit binder check. So it's actually going to be worth more than a typical homework assignment that's going to the project category. Make sure you do it and then save your notes for the unit binder check. And then, of course, I mentioned this already, you have a quiz on Monday. One of the lessons I won't prepare, but you have the capability to do it in a video, so no mistake. Yeah, I see a lot of you like not actively listening to me. No, that's right. I have a lot of people always asking me like about the missing assignments and things. Like I have video recording proof of me telling me about assignments, like they're not paper assignments. They're instantly. If you listen, yeah. All right. So for the warm up, table 4, what is the mean of data set A? One more time, what do you How do you find the mean? Okay, good. So we add them up. And then you divide by however many numbers there were. How many numbers are there? 5. And you can use a calculator to do this. If it was me typing it like in a handheld calculator, I'd probably, and you were typing it in all at once, I'd probably put the numerator in parentheses because you do need to add these all up before you divide by 5. If you just type it all in at once and it divide 5, it's going to divide 5 first and then add everything up. So, you have to learn how to use whatever calculator that you can use for the test. So yeah, if you stopped at 25 and said that was the mean, remember that the mean is supposed to be a typical value in the data set. Would you say that 25 is a typical value for the data set? So you got to check that your answer makes sense. If you just stopped at adding them together and then it divide by however many numbers there were, that could have been figured out by the scene. Is it a typical value in the data set? No. Mean is also like what the values seem to be clustered around. Would you say that these numbers are centered around the 5? Say again, just would you say that these numbers are centered around the 5? Yes. So I know you might think like median is middle. That is true. But the mean, the average, should also be like toward the middle of all the data points as well. Like it should, where your data is centered around it. Those are typical of that set. Okay, so table 6. What is the median of this data set? 5 as well. All right, and median is the center number exactly. So was I able to find the median, how it's set up? What did I have to do first? Put them in order from least to greatest. And then since there's 5 data points, there's only one number in the middle. Sorry, I meant to go left. There's only one number in the middle, so it's easy to identify. I don't have to take the average this time. So 5 is the median. Now, IQR, table 1, what does IQR stand for? Okay. What about like the acronym IQR? What is that? Interquartile range. So connect that to, and I mean, some of you remembered it from middle school, some of you didn't. Connect that to how you find normal range. Table 4, do me a favor, close it for us. Connect that to how you find normal range. How do we find normal range? Yes. The biggest number minus the smallest is how you find just regular old rate. Finding the interquartile range is similar, like it's still a subtraction problem. except that instead of just doing the maximum and the minimum, I'm taking the range of the quartiles. So table 2, that's a formula for it. Okay, good. So subtracting the quartiles and your ranges should never be negative. So it should always be like the bigger minus the smaller. So like my biggest quartile minus my smallest quartile. So that's the formula for IQR. When we're finding the IQR of this data set, we need to identify Q3 and Q1. Table 3 was my Q3. It is not. Everyone else at table 3? Not 60 either. Table 4, what's my Q3? It's the median of my upper half of data. $6.5. Okay, so remember, and I know we didn't do a lot of examples where there was an odd number of data points. We did a lot where there was like a number of data points, average and middle of them. When you have just one number in the middle, like the same rule as before, it's the same. You never cross the median. So like when you drive, you wouldn't want to cross like the road, because now you're going the wrong direction of traffic. So whatever the median is, you never cross it. So my median is 5. That separates this as my upper half of data. And I need to find the median of that, the middle of 6 and 7, which is 6.5. Okay. So 6.5 is my Q3. Table 6, what is my Q1? 3.5. So middle of my lower half, here's my lower half, 3.5. Then simply subtract them to get the IQR. Class, what's going to be my IQR? 3. All right, so maybe some of you did 6 minus 3, but technically it should be 6.5 minus 3.5. But we're just saying that the middle 50% of data is spread out by 3 numbers. We have typical values compared to like how spread out something is. We're going to find standard deviation in the calculator, probably in the next one. MAD was something that I started asking you to find. That one's a long process. If you remember it from Tuesday, it took the whole backside of our paper, and we were filling out the table. Like, it's a long process. So that's why knowing how to use a graphing calculator, not to mention like the graphing calculator can help you with the IQR too. That is the important skill that we're practicing today. So I'm going to show you that. I don't even have room on my paper to find the MAD. We're going to show you that one on the calculator too. But we'll probably do it with this next set as an example. So down here, you have space to take notes on how to use graphing technology. The one that I primarily show you things on is Desmos, but keep in mind, like, you won't have Desmos when you take your state test. If you want a better calculator than the one I showed you the other day, you need to bring it yourself, and I saw a lot of people with them, so that's great. If you want to do the same things in your own graphing calculator, all you have to do is type in the model number, which is like right above your calculator screen usually. Go to YouTube, type that model number in here. So say you have a Casio, and I don't have them memorized, but Look, there's all these other like model numbers in there already. Um, but just do like Casio, graphing calculator. Let's try this one. And say you want to find the mean. So how to find the mean. There's already videos made showing you your calculator, what buttons to press to find the same things that I'm going to show you in Desmos. It's just not really feasible for me to show you on all your own graphing calculators. And honestly, if you ask me, I would be looking it up on YouTube because I probably don't know your calculator that well. So you could do it yourself and take notes on your own time with your own graphing calculator. I'm going to show you in Desmos. Now you could watch, you could follow along by pressing the same things that I'm pressing on your own screen, but I'm not going to tell you what to write here. That's your job. I'm not going to say, okay, step one is to press this button. Like, no. When you guys are learning how to do anything else with technology, like, I don't know, making a TikTok, you're not like taking out a piece of notebook paper and writing out every step. You're watching them do it and then doing it yourself. So, we're gonna find first the MAD and standard deviation of data set A. Again, you could follow along, you could just watch, you could start jotting down some notes, but know that if it was a test and you ask me a question about how to use your calculator, I can't help you during that time. So you have to already know how to use it or have it in your notes by the first quiz, which is on Monday. All right. So go to desmos.com, desmos.com. Click on Open Graphing Calculator. Should bring you to something that looks like this. If I'm trying to find the MAD or standard deviation of data set A, I would click in this box. I would pick a letter. There's some letters that don't work. So like if I pick E, you see some stuff pop up. E does have like mathematical significance, so don't pick E. But usually I'll pick like D for data. Since data set A is called data set A, I could use an A. Just pick a letter. Hit equals bracket, and you'll see it says empty list. I need to add my data there. So my first data set was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Separate your numbers with commas. Now, say you had a big number in your data set, like 10,000, like normally that number has a comma in it. When you're putting it in your calculator, don't put the comma. If I wanted to add 10,000 to this list, I would just type in the number without the comma. Okay, but we're not doing that right now because it's not in this list. But just so you know, you might see big numbers on your quiz. The number here, like it says 5 element list, that should match however many numbers you had in your data set. So I had 5 numbers in data set A. You could put the bracket, you could leave it off. That doesn't really change anything, but it looks like that. In a different cell, since I want to find the MAD, let's start with MAD. All I have to do, and there's a few ways you could do it, like you could memorize the function, but probably just finding it in this menu will be easiest. Click on Show Keypad. Click on Functions over here. And we are in the statistics unit, so you're going to scroll to statistics, and you see a lot of words you probably already recognize, like mean. If you just click that, it starts it for you, and you just have to type in whatever letter you called your data set. So I called mine A. If I put a different letter, it's not going to know what I'm talking about, so the little message will come up. And it tells me like my mean is 5 and all that stuff. But right now I'm trying to find the MAD, so I'm going to go back to my functions. I'm going to scroll to statistics. MAD is right here, literally MAD. It automatically will put the parentheses if you click it from here, and then just type in whatever you called your data set. So where Tuesday, it took a really long time to find the MAD. So my MAD for data set A, which helps me like say how spread out my data is 1.2. Set this. Okay, 1.2 for the MAD for data set A. Now for standard deviation, you could click in a different cell, you could erase this cell, but go to functions, scroll to statistics. There's two different functions for standard deviation, and honestly, it doesn't really matter which one you use. I mean, it does matter, right? That's for statistics, but for this class, like, they're very similar. You could try both. The standard deviation by itself or the standard deviation with a P. Type in whatever letter you called your data. So I called mine A. And you'll see the one without the P is about 1.58. The one with the P is about 1.41. Would you say those are pretty similar? So I don't remember which one is on your homework. I think it's this one. But you should recognize it in the answers. Like if you don't see your answer, try the one without the P, and then it's probably that one. All right. Questions on that? Okay, so that's standard deviation. Just pick one of them. I'll pick the one with the P. So we'll say the standard deviation is about 1.4. They didn't say what to round to, so I suppose you could pick, but if it says to round something specific, make sure you do that. Good. Okay, now let's do the same thing, but with this data set, which you probably already started to do by hand. So now we're verifying our answers with our calculator. So table 2, if I was wanting to put data set B into my calculator, what could I put here? B equals, good. Could really be almost any letter. I mean, there's some that don't work, but equals is probably what I would do. B equals and then what? Bracket, which is this one, like the box one. And then you type in your data. I'm going to go on my keyboard and do that. I do not need to worry about putting it in numerical order when I'm putting it in my calculator. So that's the nice thing about it. Make sure you separate your data with commas, not decimals or anything. And the element list should match how many numbers I had. I had 6 numbers in dataset B. Now I want to find the mean. You could find it in this little menu. Generally, I have them memorized. So like I would just literally on my keyboard probably just type in mean parentheses, not bracket this time, parentheses. And then whatever you called your data set. So if by hand you got that the mean was 136.6 repeating, then good job. But this is faster, usually more accurate. So moving forward, we use a calculator to find the mean. I mean, that's a good strategy. Let me switch my here. All right, the median of data set B was 138.5. IQR. So notice that in that little functions menu, there's no easy button for IQR. You do see buttons for quartiles, so you could try those. Let me erase this out. Now there's quartile and quantile. Remember, quartiles, but the data into quarters, and these are that says quartile, not quantile. But notice what happens when I type in my letter. Nothing pops up. You can hover over this little error message. Maybe it'll give you like a hint of what you need to do. It says it requires 2 arguments. So for example, you could try typing this and then a 1. So like this would be their data. We already put it somewhere else. But we could put B, comma 1 if I want the first quartile. So my Q1 is 125. I could erase that one and put a 3 since IQR requires knowing the third quartile. So 3, and that's my third quartile, 150. So that's why I said before, you do need to know the formula for IQR, because unless you have a calculator that has it in their little menu, then this one for Desmos, like you have to know IQR is Q3 minus Q1. So my IQR is going to be all right, good. Any questions? And then of course, NAD and standard deviation. I showed you how to find that for data set A. You can do that for this too. Really quick though, so that is how you can navigate it with what they give you. A student showed me this one year, and honestly, it's even better than doing this because it shows you something else too. Instead of remembering how to use this, you could look in your functions list and find the stats function. Oops, I missed one. Okay. Right here, stats. Click on it, type in whatever you called your data set, and look what pops up. You should recognize those numbers from something. What are they? It's from when we made box plots, since these are the 5 numbers we need. So even like when you get to your unit test, like I don't let you use any notes or anything. Instead of memorizing the 5 numbers you need for a box plot, you could just memorize the stats function in Desmos, and it'll show you the 5 numbers that you need for the box plot. And it easily shows you the Q3 and the Q1, and you can just subtract them from there. All right, questions, comments, concerns? So I just showed you a lot. Make sure, like, and maybe you'll notice it when you start practicing on the back. You might say, like, I don't know why my stuff isn't populating. What did I do wrong? Well, maybe you forgot the bracket. Maybe you forgot the equal sign. Or maybe when you were doing something down here, you accidentally erased the parentheses. I don't know, but those would be good things to include on your little T chart of how to use Desmos so that you remember for your quiz. Right, that was all the ones I wanted to do together. Any questions? So on the back of your notes, you have some practice using graphing technology. You're going to do those on your own. If you have any questions, let me know. So if you have any questions, let me know. You don't need to turn this paper into me. You don't even have to upload it to Schoology. You just need to have it for your binder check. Don't, that's like minus 2 project points. Each note sheet is worth 2 project points. So if we have like 30 notes in a unit, that would be like 60 points in the project category. So like it accumulates and you start looking at your stuff and not saving it. We do it if you have to. Questions? Everyone know what we're doing? Maybe no.